Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bottom Line Show. We are so glad you are here with us today. My name is Mihran Kalaydjian, and I am the host of the Bottom Line Show, a new podcast series, a public affairs program dedicated to informing and engaging the Los Angeles community on issues that matter most. Today, on the Bottom Line Show, we are joined by Justin Kron, the founder of the Kesher Project and a longtime advocate for building bridges of understanding between Jewish and Christian communities. He is also the creative mind behind October 7 Bearing Witness to the Massacre, a very powerful project that explores the horrifying events of October 7, 2023, within the broader history of Gaza and Hamas. Justin's work invites us not only to remember, but to grapple with the deeper realities and responsibilities of bearing witness. Justin, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Moran. Pleasure to be with you.
And thank you for accepting my invitation. There are many questions, and my question is what inspired you with your production team, Todd Morhand and Jesse Schluntz, to create October 7 Bearing Witness to the Massacre? And what do you hope people take away from it?
Yeah, so we had produced a film called Hope in the Holy Land, delving beneath the surface of the Israeli Palestinian conflict that released in May of 21. And that film was really in response to the many, really, the lies and distortions regarding who Israel is, the history of the conflict. And we felt we needed to provide a more fair and balanced perspective on the conflict. And so we took several trips to Israel, interviewed people on both sides of the conflict, and that resulted in this particular film. So uh, after that film released, we realized people wanted more content, and so we had a lot of content that didn't make it into that film. So we decided to start producing a 6 episode series called Hope in the Holy Land, the series. The first episode of that series released in actually September 1st of 2023. So as most people, of course, know, 37 days later, the events of October 7th occurred. And so as a team, we knew immediately we needed to pivot our plan for that series, because you can't do a series on the conflict unless, of course, you cover the events of October 7th. We also noticed that there was a lot of misinformation, propaganda related to the events of October 7. Many who are coming out in support of Hamas, even within hours and days of that event, some even denying that it happened. Uh, uh, so there was what you could call massacre denial, similar to the reality that there's Holocaust denial. And so we felt as documentarians, historians, that it was very important that we go back to Israel to, as the subtitle of our film, to bear witness to the massacre and to record those events, interview survivors, talk to historians about the history of Gaza and who is Hamas. Hamas was being positioned by many as a resistance organization that was simply fighting for its freedom after 75 years of brutal occupation. In fact, there was a statement signed by over 30 organizations at Harvard University on the day of October 7th, saying to that effect, even holding Israel responsible for the violence on that day. Not Hamas, but holding Israel responsible. Excuse me, there in the background, my dog decided to um, take care of something. But so we decided that it was necessary to go back. And so that's what we did. And the end result is what you will see in the film October 7.
You know, I did watch the movie several times, and I struggled This is a very difficult emotional complex that serving the Israeli army for 4 years, this was very difficult moment about how this movie is talking about reality and how painful is it. I've been asked, many of my friends and my classmates said, how do you measure the impact of hearing witness? And uh, and I
Yeah,
wanted to give you this follow-up questions because it's difficult.
yeah, it was very challenging emotionally to produce this film for our entire team. Um, to stand in these places where some of the worst atrocities ever really truly known to mankind occurred uh, is not easy to reconcile. I mean, when you are in these villages, which are really in remote places in Israel, I mean, it's these are like country towns. To also be aware of the fact that those who lived in the kibbutzim, that these villages were some of the most leftist, progressive peaceniks in all of Israel. These are people who served the Palestinians. These are people who welcomed Palestinians from Gaza into their villages to work, sometimes even to their homes to eat.
Mhm.
So it's really hard to try to put that all together. People asked me what was it like uh, for me, and I said, well, just try to imagine what it would have been like stepping into the Warsaw Ghetto or into Auschwitz within months after they were in operation. So, um, I mean, the scale of the barbarity, the stories, very difficult to reconcile. And I think this is what's important for people to understand is who is Hamas, who are those who supported them. Let's keep in mind this was not just terrorists. These were civilians from Gaza who participated. Approximately, they say, I think it was around 6,000 who invaded Gaza that day. Again, not all of them were terrorists. Some of them were civilians who actively participated in it, who murdered Israelis. We're talking men, women, and children in some of the most horrific ways, and then celebrated it and recorded themselves celebrating this massacre. Uh, so, for us as a team, um, we knew that we were covering something incredibly important. In fact, in some respects, it felt like we were doing sacred work.
Mhm.
And and I'm glad we did it. Again, there's many who are distorting reality, trying to change who Hamas really is, and I think we clearly portray that who they are in the film.
Justin, I have to say, first of all, thank you, and thank you to all your entire executive team. This movie speaks louder than the words that was discussed in this movie. Uh, some they describe October 7 as a turning point, not just for Israel, but the entire region. In your view, which you are already discussing in this movie, what shifted that day in the geopolitical landscape?
Well, I think this illusion of a two-state solution is what shifted.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, Israel has offered the Palestinians their own state or attempted to negotiate a two-state solution on multiple occasions over the last many decades. Okay. The Palestinians have rejected that time and time again. But there were still many within Israel who still believed that two states was possible, that there were people on the other side, people within the Palestinian society who genuinely, truly wanted to live peacefully side by side next to Israel. And I think that illusion was completely blown away. I think The majority of Israelis came to the realization that that's not the case. And this is not in the October 7 film, but we went to the West Bank, to Judea, Samaria, specifically into Bethlehem,
Mm-hmm.
and we conducted several street interviews
Yes.
with Palestinians, asking them their thoughts about October 7, asking them their thoughts about living peacefully side by side by a Jewish state. Well, first you need to know, of the 10 people we interviewed, and this was all different ages. This was from teenagers uh, through, men and women in their, 60s, 70s. They all justified Hamas's attack against Israel. Now, ironically, many of them denied that Hamas had murdered and raped women and children.
Right.
They said Muslims would never do such a thing. There were a couple who did admit that that's what Hamas did, but regardless, they all justified the attack. And to the question of could they live peacefully side by side next to a Jewish state, they all said no. They all said that Israel doesn't have the right to exist. Uh, and again, this was not the leadership of the Palestinian people. These were everyday Palestinians. So that's the reality of what Israel is dealing with. This is the reality of what we could call the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but really, which is a conflict of Israel against many of its Arab Muslim neighbors. This is a regional conflict. And so I think we need to be very aware. I think our eyes need to be wide open about what is the ultimate aspiration of not just Hamas, but many of the Palestinian people. And again, there are always some who are outliers. There are those, and we know some of these people. We highlight them in our previous film, who do accept Israel's right to exist and who are actively working for peaceful coexistence. And we support those people, and we need to amplify their voices. But the reality is that the overwhelming majority of the Palestinian people do not accept Israel's right to exist and want to replace it with an Islamic state that's essentially run by Sharia law.
Correct.
This is their goal. From the river to the sea, what do they say? Palestine will be free. What is between the river and what is between the sea? Well, we know that it's Israel. It's the Jewish state. And so this is their ultimate aspiration. Hamas makes that, by the way, they make that very clear in their charter.
Mm-hmm.
We highlight that in the film. And so this is reality. So when people say that they want to wipe you off the map, I think we need to pay attention, and I think we need to actually believe them. And so hopefully this film will help many do that.
Justin, I was surprised that this movie energized some Palestinian young generation, and they did actually a special report, and I was stunned by the report. But there is one line question. Do you see this as a temporary or long term? That is a question they ask, and I would like to ask you because you can have a different approach to this topic.
So temporary or long term regarding what?
Regarding the turning point between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and how this movie has been impacting psychologically of changing some ideology at the moment within the students in West Bank, whether it's Bethlehem University or Birzeit University, the two top universities in West Bank, they've been discussing about this movie. And I do know there was a panel discussion about this movie. So I'm trying, this is something very different to me as well.
Yeah, well, I hope that they do discuss it. I hope that it influences their views uh, on what's going on. I can't say, as to whether or not this is going to be a long term or short term, uh, transition or pivot or whatever um, within this conflict. What we do know is that this is a moment in history that has changed things.
Right.
This is a moment that has very much, I think, taken the mask off of what the ultimate aspirations are of jihadist organizations like Hamas, like Hezbollah,
Mhm.
like the Houthis, the IRGC in Iran. Uh, Hamas made it very clear, given the opportunity, that they would repeat October 7 over and over again. And let's be clear, while I think it is incredibly important that Israel defeats Hamas, I think what's most important is to understand we need to defeat an ideology.
Right.
And so I think a re-education, a de-radicalization of the Palestinian society is what needs to occur. I do hope and I do pray that there are Palestinians who have been horrified uh, by what happened on October 7th. I hope they watch our film in case some of them don't know. I don't see how they couldn't know. All of this content is readily available uh, on on social media, on the internet. But this puts it all together into one about 2 hour film. So I hope that they watch it, and I hope that they say, that's not what I want to be associated with. That doesn't speak to my humanity as a Palestinian, and I want to do everything I can to distance myself from that jihadist ideology, and I want to do everything in my power to defeat it. Israel needs allies within the Palestinian society. If there's going to be a future for peace, then we need to be working with the true peacemakers within the Palestinian society. And same is true on the Israel side. I mean, listen, let's be honest. There are some, even within Israeli society, who would prefer that the Palestinians not be there. I think that's a minority. I don't think it truly represents the government. But listen, we need to be finding those people who are against extremism wherever it rears its ugly head, and we need to be working towards true peace. And I don't think that it's going to happen because there are countries in the UN or independent of the UN who declare that that they recognize a Palestinian state. That's not how you bring about peace.
Right.
Okay. Peace needs to be brought about through the people on the ground who are developing their society. Listen, Gaza, Hamas could have turned, if they truly did want peace, Hamas could have turned Gaza into the Singapore of the Middle East. It could be Dubai today, with all the money that's been invested by the international community given to Hamas. They could have built a society that rivals any other in the world. But again, their ultimate aspiration is to destroy Israel. In fact, let's be honest, it's not only to destroy Israel, but I think it's a war against the West, uh, the Judeo-Christian West, and our values of freedom and human rights. So the war that Israel is fighting is not just a war for its own benefit; it's a war that benefits all of us.
Justin, this movie has a very different ideology. It takes you to the past, then it moves you to the present. Um, the message is when you think back to October 7, 2023, what stands out most to you about that day and its aftermath?
What stands out to me, besides the brutality of what occurred, is the resilience of the Israeli people. Now, this October 7th, the massacre, this happened at a time in Israel's history when the nation was very, very divided. There was many protests related to the judicial reform that was being proposed by Netanyahu's administration,
Right.
and the country was divided. October 7th, though, brought many Israelis back together, regardless of their political differences,
Right.
and realize that uh, they are a country that has many great things about it, and is really it's again it's the only Jewish state on the planet. Jews have nowhere else to go, and so they come together. They've come together to fight for their survival, um, and they're going to continue to do that. And they've shown just to what lengths they'll go to. I mean, you look at what Israel has already done to uh, minimize the threat from Hezbollah uh, in Iran with the partnership of the United States, uh, still with the Houthis. I mean, militarily, Israel has made some incredible progress, and so I think I rest. You know, I'm a Christian. I believe in what the Bible teaches. And there's some very clear promises that I read in the Hebrew scriptures about God's um, promise to preserve, to protect the nation of Israel, saying that even in spite of anything that they do, that He will forever protect them, that they will forever be a nation before Him. That's in Jeremiah chapter 31. So listen, of all the ancient peoples of the world, are there any others that still exist besides the Jews? So, uh, listen, people have tried to wipe the Jewish people and the Jewish nation off the map many times throughout history. They failed every single time. They will continue to do so.
You know, Justin, there are many difficult moments in this movie. The scenes, the bloodshed, the rape, killing people, uh, kidnapping them, recording them. Um, was there a moment that personally shook you?
Well, there's different stories that we capture. There's the Kedem Tov family from the Nir Oz kibbutz, mother and father, um, three young children, two of them twins.
Right.
Uh, the family on that day, they went into their safe room, which happened to be one of the children's bedrooms, and the parents held the door shut. The terrorists shot through the door, hit the parents. The parents were, I think, bleeding out. And then the terrorists lit the home on fire, and the entire family perished. Um, that one hits hard. I mean, when you think about an entire family being wiped out,
Right.
and listen, they were not the only ones. We were able to attain some footage of the family in their car singing together. It's a beautiful scene. We acquired that footage, thankfully, from the family, and I don't know. I think it's just one of those stories that really just encapsulates just the tremendous human loss that occurred on that day. Uh, so that one touched me. Um, being with a former hostage, Ada Sagi, also
Yeah.
from Neuros, and just hearing her story of how she was taken from her home. By the way, she was held by civilians
Yes.
in Gaza, not
Yes.
not held by terrorists, but by civilians who were being paid by the terrorists.
Oh.
Um,
Ooh.
and this woman, 75 or 76 years old, I believe, she had just lost her husband the year before, uh, and she told us she'll never go back to Nero. She'll never go back there. That now is her former life, um, and she's relocated. So there's so many of those stories. I wish we could have captured more. I mean, but if we did, that would have turned into a 3 or 4 or 5 hour film.
Mhm.
But those that we did speak to, I think they tell their stories beautifully and powerfully. And then we built the larger narrative around what happened on October 7th, um, around their stories.
Wow. So October 7, bearing witness to the massacre can be emotionally overwhelming. How do you navigate sharing such painful stories responsibly? I mean, I cried. When you serve to the army, it's very difficult to everyone who served their country, whether in Israel or as a veteran. This has been emotionally overwhelmingly, and it was very difficult to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Uh, listen, I'm not a medical, I'm not a first responder type person.
mm,
Um, I know there are those who step into those type of situations, um, and somehow they're able to cope with it. Uh, so I thought about them. I thought about the people who had to do that really horrendous work of taking care of the victims, the bodies, and honoring those victims. And I just kept telling myself, well, if they can do it, I can do it. Um, there's also a command in the New Testament that says to mourn with those who mourn, to weep with those who weep. It's a command to do that.
mhm,
And I felt like that's what we were doing. I felt not only were we honoring the victims by telling their story, but we were also honoring the God of those
mhm.
victims. And so I would implore anyone who has the ability to watch this film to do so. I think not only does it honor the victims, but I think it will really help you to truly empathize with what Israel is facing as a nation,
Right.
and to better than understand why they're doing what they're doing to defeat Hamas, and why it's necessary for us to do the same. I'll remind listeners right now, Hamas and their allies, they don't want to just wipe Israel off the map. They want to establish a worldwide caliphate, Islamic caliphate that's run by Sharia law. That's their ultimate goal.
Right.
And so we've already seen that there have been terrorist attacks here in the United States and in other parts of the Western world. This is what Israel lives with on a daily basis, um, on their borders. In fact, even some within their own society. And so I think we need to support them in their effort to defeat it.
So, to all the listeners and readers of City Watch and community leaders, advocates, students who may not be familiar, how does this tragic day fit into larger history of Gaza and Hamas?
Well, I hope history writes that this is when Hamas was fully defeated and eradicated from Gaza. I hope that's the end result of this event, of this war that was started by Hamas on October 7. I don't buy into well, you have to understand the history and the oppression that they experienced. To listen, it's just excuses. It's garbage. Um, Hamas intentionally started this conflict. Uh, they also knew that when they started this conflict, that militarily they could not win. So their desire is to win on the stage of public opinion. That is a war right now, sadly, that they're winning. Many have decided to see them as the victims, not Israel.
Mhm.
And so hopefully when history is written and people look back, they will see that it was Israel who were the ones who were victimized and then who stood up to stand for their rights as human beings, to exist in this world, to have self-determination within their ancestral homeland. That is what Israel is. It's the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. You can try to rewrite that history, but that's facts. You can go there. I'm going to be there soon. I take groups there to learn about the history of Israel, and I take them to places, archaeological sites, where you can see the Jews have been consistently present within this land. Even during their exile, there has been a presence of Jewish people there. They've always longed to return to their home. That happened, and I believe it was by the grace of God. They returned to their home and reestablished their state in 1948, in effect, decolonizing the territory, reestablished their state, and have built one of the most remarkable countries ever to exist on the face of the earth.
Um, you mentioned, Justin, you have Christian roots in your family, and the October 7 bearing witness to the massacre, it's a must that everyone needs to watch it and to support it. Uh, what lessons should Christian communities take from October 7 bearing witness to the massacre about confronting hatred and standing with the Jewish neighbors?
Listen, the Jewish people have been attacked, maligned all throughout history by different groups for different reasons. Pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was killed by the Nazis, executed by the Nazis during World War II for his participation in an assassination attempt against Hitler, who stood up for the Jewish people. He wrote, silence in the face of evil is itself evil.
Mm.
God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak, not to act is to act. And so I would say now is the time, once again in history, where people of goodwill need to stand up, they need to speak, they need to act, they need to defend Israel's right to exist. They need to defend Israel's right to defend itself.
Mm-hmm.
They need to stand up and testify to who the Israelis truly are. They're not these demon possessed people that some like to say. It absolutely infuriates me how often Israelis are demonized, how Jewish people are demonized. It's anti-Semitism, and it's from the pit of hell. And so now is the time to stand up against that evil. All lies, I believe, are from the pit of hell, and so we need to stand up for truth. And October 7, bearing witness to the massacre, it does that. And so I think it is imperative upon us to not only watch it, but to share it. We need to share it. We need to inform and educate others, especially the youth who are so easily persuaded by what they watch on social media, by history that's torn out of its context, comments that are torn out of context. And we need to let people see truly what happened so that they can be more informed and to walk a more truthful life and fight for the truth.
You mentioned one of the most powerful statement, Israel has the right to defend itself. Are there hopeful examples you have witnessed that you can share with us?
Of Israel defending itself?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, listen, Hamas is on life support right now in Gaza. Okay, they're continuing to hang on to hostages. I don't think that's going to be for very much longer. I do think Israel's going to finish the job, and hopefully the remaining hostages who are still living are rescued. But that's one of the moments when you think about the hostages. I forget I think it was in the spring or summer of last year when the IDF forces went in and rescued four of the hostages, risked their own lives. In fact, one of the IDF commanders lost his life as a result of saving the life of the hostages. Many of the IDF soldiers who have gone into battle have died, have perished, have given their life, sacrificed their lives to rescue the hostages and to defeat Hamas. And those lives need to be honored. They need to be respected. The accusation that Israel is committing genocide is just complete nonsense. If Israel truly wanted to commit genocide, it easily could do so, and it could do so within a matter of hours. But Israel goes out of its way to do what it can to minimize the death of civilians, informing civilians that they're coming in to operate, gives them the opportunity to leave. Israel's the one who's doing that. If the world truly does believe that Israel is committing genocide against the Gazans, then I ask, then why aren't you doing more to rescue the Gazans? Mm-hmm. How come Egypt, that shares a border with Gaza, isn't allowing the Palestinians there to go into Gaza? Where's the international community doing what they can to rescue the civilians? They're not. They're not allowing any of them to leave. So, listen, Israel is gone to great measures to do what it can to minimize the loss of civilian life while doing what they need to do, which is to defeat Hamas, which does everything. By the way, Hamas does everything within their capabilities to increase civilian casualties because they know that it's going to gain them international sympathy. So let's be clear about who Israel is. Let's be clear about who Hamas is, and let's stand on the right side of history.
Justin, there are many scholars and advocates that they are asking, you have used the phrase bearing witness. What does that mean to you in this context? I want everyone to know our society, our community, what it stands for.
Yeah, well, the term bearing witness, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is a term that came out of the ashes of the Holocaust.
Right.
The importance of going and visiting the concentration camps to see what the Nazis did to the Jews during World War II. The outcome of that was to say never again. Never again on our watch should we allow any group to attempt to exterminate the Jewish people. Well, never again is now. This is exactly what Hamas wanted to do, still wants to do. And so I think it's important for us as civilized human beings to bear witness once again and to say never again. To continue to support Israel in their quest to eradicate Hamas and to preserve their right to self-determination within their ancestral homeland.
You know, Justin, this is not easy for you and for your team. Have you faced any resistance or pushback when presenting these events, and especially about this movie?
Well, we haven't yet.
Okay.
It hasn't. It'll releases on October 3rd. I suspect that we'll get plenty of pushback. That it'll be called Israeli propaganda or something like that. There'll be some aspects to it that people say that maybe we didn't cover thoroughly enough, or they'll still say, well, Israel allowed this to happen, so as an excuse to go commit genocide against the Gazans. I mean, these are the things people say. Sometimes it doesn't matter how much evidence is put in front of people. They're so committed to their particular ideology or to their narrative that it's not going to change. And so we suspect some of that, but I mean, it's just that's what comes with the territory. And so we're not going to worry too much about that pushback. The people that we really truly want to reach are those who are confused, those who don't fully understand what's going on. you'd be surprised by the number of people that I've spoken to who've previewed the film, who've said, wow, I had no idea the extent of the massacre. I didn't realize how brutal it was. I've even spoken to some people on college campuses who don't even know what happened on October
Yeah,
7th.
correct.
If you can believe that.
Yes.
Um, and so there's plenty of those people out there. So hopefully this film reaches them and their eyes can be wide open.
It must reach to the colleges. They are the core of our community and our society. The young voices is very strong. They have a message and we need to hear from them. And before I close, I would like to ask, what can ordinary people do about October 7 bearing witness to the massacre and take meaningful action without feeling overwhelmed?
If they don't want to be overwhelmed, then really the easiest thing to do, watch and share the film. How it's not that hard
Right.
to share films with people. Like, I mean, we do it all the time, or we read books and we recommend books to people. And so it's as simple as that. You watch it, you tell your neighbor, I just watched a really insightful film. It really opened up my eyes about what happened on October 7th and more to help me better understand the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. You should check it out. That's it.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be overwhelming to anyone. And so start there. And then go watch our previous film. You'll learn a lot about that, a lot about the conflict through our previous film. It's on Prime Video. It's to this day, it's the only 5-star rated film on Prime Video related to the conflict. So that should give you an idea as to what people think about the film. And there's also many really fantastic books. It's not on the October 7 film website, but if you go to the Hope in the Holy Land, our previous film, which you can connect through the October 7 film website, we recommend several books that are worth reading. So start there. I think that's a really good place to go for those who are looking to do something tangible.
And my last question, Justin, if the world fails to learn from October 7, what do you feel the consequences could be, not only for Israel, but for the humanity at
Hmm.
large?
Well, shame on us if we don't learn these lessons. The consequence is going to be the collapse of Western civilization, plain and
Wow.
simple.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, you've got the Islamic radical fundamentalist ideology that is seeking to take over the world.
Yeah.
It's what they make it very clear. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Uh, Read what they've written, listen to what they say. It's all there. Uh, and right now, what I'm seeing is many people who have their heads in the sand about that. So if that happens, then shame on us. There's going to be people like me, our team, who are doing everything we can to educate people and open up their eyes. Uh, if they don't heed the warning, then they have no one to blame but themselves.
Justin, thank you for sharing your insight and for helping us better understand the significance of October 7 and the responsibility of bearing witness. These conversations aren't easy, but they are necessary. If we were going to move toward truth, justice, and healing, and to all our listeners who want to learn more, I personally encourage you to explore Justin's work with October 7 bearing witness to the massacre and also the Kesher Project. Justin, I truly appreciate your time with us today. I also want to say thank you to the team of productions and professionals, Todd Moorhead and Jesse Schlantz. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.